We hear a lot at the moment that China and the West have incompatible cultures and political systems, that they always have had, and that as China rises, these two systems are going to come increasingly into conflict with each other. But in fact, historically, there's been far more exchange and crossover of ideas than many people realize. For example, there's research that shows that American policymakers behind the New Deal of the 1930s were actually influenced by ancient Chinese thought on governing the market. This was actually brought to my attention by the work of the economist Isabella Weber. I'll be drawing on her research in this video, and in my next video I'll be talking some more about her, so do watch out for that one if you're interested in this one. The New Deal, of course, was a set of policies put into practice in the 1930s to address the very serious problems that had arisen with the Great Depression, that horrendous economic downturn which had begun in 1929. Here's a photo from that time of men in New York in a bread line queuing up to get a meal. The Secretary of Agriculture during this time was this man, Henry Wallace. His job was to assist American farmers who were, of course, facing very serious problems at that time. Under his watch, the US Congress set up what was known as the ever-normal granary. This was a system which was designed for the storage of grain in order to stabilize commodity prices. In other words, taking grain out of circulation when there was lots of it and releasing it back onto the market when it was in short supply. There's lots of evidence that the ideas behind the ever-normal granary did in fact come from ancient China. In 1937, this man, Benjamin Graham, a famous investor and financial analyst, and tutor of Warren Buffett no less, wrote this at the start of his book. The ever-normal granary is a Chinese phrase which has rather suddenly become a central issue in American economic policy. The first and most pressing business of the next Congress will be the passage of comprehensive farm relief legislation. This legislation offers an ever-normal granary as a safeguard to the consuming population. The granary idea briefly means the storage of reserve supplies of big crop years in time of crop failure. So, what actually was this ancient Chinese idea? There are debates about its exact origins, but research suggests that it originally emerged in 54 BC during the Western Han dynasty as a policy called constantly normal price. As it evolved over time, this system was put to different uses in different circumstances, and it was developed further in the 11th century into a government loan system by a great reformer of the Song dynasty, Huanzhang, who apparently Henry Wallace was quite familiar with. So how did these ancient Chinese ideas get into the United States congressional policy discussions in the first place? Henry Wallace was born in rural Iowa, and at this point in his career, he was concerned with managing farm surpluses and, of course, ameliorating rural poverty. In his search for solutions to these problems, he turned to studying problems that had faced rural China. There has been some debate about the extent to which Wallace was influenced by ancient Chinese ideas, but the evidence does seem to back it up. Here's what he said explicitly in a speech made in China in 1944. Soon after I became Secretary of Agriculture, I asked the Congress at the earliest possible moment to put into the legislation of the United States an ancient practice of Chinese agricultural statesmanship, the ever-normal granary, I obtained from a book on the economic principles of Confucius and his school by Chen Huanzhang. Wallace was referring here to the PhD thesis of a student who had been attending Columbia University. Chen Huanzhang, who had completed his PhD at Columbia in 1912, had himself been a student of the Chinese reformist thinker Kang Youwei. He was a Confucian scholar, but quite a radical thinker, picking up ancient ideas from China's past and very much interpreting them in a new light. Kang's ideas had a huge impact on the young Chen Huanzhang, and there have been suggestions that actually what Chen was doing with his PhD thesis was trying to promote Kang Youwei's ideas to a Western audience. This does seem to have worked to quite a large extent. His thesis was also favourably reviewed by a number of well-known economists, among them John Maynard Keynes. Finally, I want to send out a quick message to regular viewers. Thank you for watching, thank you for engaging, thank you for the very interesting comments that many of you are leaving. Up until now, I've been posting videos twice a week. From now on, I'll be posting just once a week and videos will be going out on Mondays. See you next time.